All right. It looks like we are up and running and good to go. So I'm going to jump over to the Jamstream layout. I'm kind of doing my sound check on the fly here. We'll jump over to the Jamstream layout and get started. All right. Think mic levels are good. I haven't adjusted the settings for the sound stuff since the last time we did one of these. Bruh. I think sound levels are topping out just where they need to be. I'll have to test during warm-up and see how the snares and instruments are going to hit on the mic and make sure we're not too high up. But I think we're good. So I'll go ahead and break down what I'm planning on covering for today's jam stream. Like I mentioned, I think it was last week, we did 2 of these in a row, 2 weeks in a row. I wanted to devote most of the time for today's jam stream towards doing BGM brainstorming. We were kind of in the middle of it last time, and I had to cut the stream short a little bit because I had to run out. But for today, we can primarily focus on more ideas for BGM. And today's going to be a bit more of an experimental session. I want to avoid getting into kind of a rut or a dead end when it comes to learning the loop, because the main point of these jam streams is for me to experiment and tinker around with the instrument in addition to coming up with BGM tracks to use in other content. So to that end, I want to try and mess around at different sound combinations. We're tweaking some of the instrument input settings and seeing how they change things. But I want to keep doing that today. And maybe what we can work on a little bit later is some of the features and the useful things we can create using the one-shot command. And I'll go into that a little bit more later, but that's the setting on the loop that allows me to turn a single track into basically like a drum pad loopable input that I can just press. That's how we get the bruh button. Bruh. Currently, the bruh button is assigned to the last track, and I can hit the button over and over again, and it just reloops the sound, just like you would on a sample or a drum pad. So if you do that, it just sounds like bruh, 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 bruh. I think if we look at recording some other sounds in place on the one shot, then that might be something interesting to work into the actual BGM tracks themselves. So we'll see. But first, before we get to that, I want to do kind of a short series of warm-up drills, just because it'll be easier for us to work through a lot of the sound here if my face and my mouth isn't completely cold. And then maybe as a segue, we'll do kind of a sound status check since last week. Not a whole lot's changed, but I did want to talk a little bit about a couple things. So while we're getting set up and I'm doing my sound checks, we will work on some warm-up drills to get the blood flowing and go ahead and get started. And I'll be keeping an eye on my OBS audio readout here just to make sure we're not going crazy with the sound levels. So let's see, we'll start off simple. All right, I'm gonna keep doing some warm up drills, but I'm gonna switch in my snares. I need to do some lip oscillations, get my lips warmed up, and then that'll allow me to do my BGMs easier. I dropped my EQ a little bit, just so it's not getting any feedback. I think everything's coming in clear. I could turn my sensitivity down a little bit, but I'll just have to get a little bit closer when I'm talking. But for the sounds themselves, I think they're okay. My PFs, as long as I'm not pointing directly at my mic again, the those don't hit the red, but we'll see for the other ones. So let's see. All right, for some reason, I'm getting an audio bitrate error on the YouTube Diagnostics page, which I don't know if I've ever seen that happen before. I think everything is reading input wise in OBS. Reading input wise. Okay, I just had to turn my stream volume on to make sure it's actually playing. Yeah, there shouldn't be anything wrong with the audio bitrate. I never changed that. Let me double check. I don't know, that's a weird error. I guess we'll let people tell me if there's anything weird with the sound input. I can tweak my sound settings a little bit. Maybe turn my sensitivity down. I'm gonna try turning my sensitivity down and then turn my EQ and dynamics up. Let's see if that balance helps a little bit. I don't think it's causing any feedback. We'll see how that works for now. It shouldn't change too much, but yeah, I'm keeping an eye out for that error. It went away, so I guess we're good. I don't plan on spending too much time on warm up and intro stuff, so I'll do sort of a sound status check, and then we'll go straight into tinkering around with BGM ideas. So based on what we talked about last week, there haven't been too many developments as far as sound status and sound check for learning things that I'm working on. I did want to talk a little bit about technicality. We usually go through technicality overviews at least once on these jam streams, but between last week's and this week, I think I hit a level up point between the streams, which is kind of annoying because I like to be able to talk about stuff like that in real time when I'm actually working on it. But I think my ability to do certain technicality patterns kind of hit that level up period in between the sessions. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about what I've been learning and experimenting around with throughout the week when it comes to technicality stuff. And hopefully it'll make sense, and maybe we can even flow some of this stuff into our BGM ideas for today as well. But like we've talked about on numerous streams up till now, the main technicality pattern or series of sound sequences, to define technicality for those who maybe never heard of it. Technicality is not just speed in beatboxing. Technicality is sound combinations that are chained together, and as you gain proficiency and accuracy with the sounds, they become like speed patterns. But the concept itself does not mean just straight up speed. So for the one that I've been working on and drilling a lot over the last few months is what they call the Tkk. And the combination of three sounds for the Tkk is just a hat, which is just a T sound, the K sound, or lowercase k in the notation, is an outward light K snare, like the letter K without the vocalization. So you have a and then the big K in the Tkk pattern is a rim shot. And the rim shot is a snare that's done using mouth pressure and mouth muscles in the same way an inwards K is done, just without the breath inwards. And a rim shot sounds like. So the Tkk combo, and again, I know I've talked about this before, but I'm just going through it again, just in case people are watching this have encountered this for the first time, or we got new people on the stream. So the Tkk combo sounds like it's a triplet combo in its core form, and it's and the way the drilling works is you could use it in a beat. Like let's say you're doing a really slow beat and you wanted to have a filler sound set in between different parts of your instruments in your beat. That's what technicality is for. It's basically to fill spaces and create transitions, or like a fill on a drum set. So if we were to take the and apply it to a very basic short beat, maybe if we're doing like something like that, it's actually kind of hard for me to do slow. Edward has entered the chat. Hey Edward, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. This is probably stuff you've already heard before, but I'm going through it just in case people watching the archives are new to a lot of these concepts. Hope you're doing all right. So to kind of get back on topic for why I'm talking about application of technicality, the one I've been drilling and trying to get down is the Tkk, and like we've talked about before with almost every type of sound in beatboxing, maybe with the exception of basses and snares, if you want speed, you have to just practice over and over again to improve muscle memory and basically become more efficient at doing the sounds. And so over the last several months, I've been drilling these TKKs, trying to get them fast, because you could do some really fun speed patterns by spamming the sound and then mixing in other sounds to the chain, and you get all these really cool complex runs of sounds. And so as of last week, I did kind of a status check on how fast I was able to do it and just kind of a benchmark. So in between, I've been working on it more. So if we take the TKK sound and speed it up in the chain, like we've talked about before, it goes from, and we speed up gradually. I'll just do it up to full speed, and then I'll try and do a full chain. It goes, mine gets a little bit messier the longer I do it, but slowly I'm getting the ability to do it faster and more consistent for longer. And so what I was working on this week that was kind of like the level up was the ability to actually apply it in chains in a beat and not just spam the sound by itself. And that involves mixing up things like snares or other sounds in between the chain, so you're creating an actual rhythm. So the real simple one I've been working on for practice is a PF snare breakup in between the TKKs, and just drilling it over and over again and trying to get it clean, and then kind of mixing up sounds just to get variety. But if we add in the PF snare, you would get something that sounds like, And that's really good practice to do over and over again, just to get the muscle memory and the rhythm down. But being able to do that rapid pattern also means it's opening up possibilities of chaining it into all sorts of other sounds. Like going way back towards the beginning, like we've talked about, my first technicality pattern I ever got good at was the TKP or KPT, depending. And that's just the... And for that one, I was testing this the other day. The top speed for me on the KPT or TKP sounds like... And if you break it up into a rhythm with a drum, you might get something like... So now the real end game towards getting into advanced technicalities, combining one type of pattern with another type to get a whole new rhythm that you're going to turn into a chain. And that's what I've been kind of working on as I've been getting better with the TKKs. And well, probably next time I have like an extended freestyle session, maybe I'll be able to pull some of them out off the top of my head. But just getting like a basic starting rhythm and then chaining into the TKK is now something I can sort of do, as opposed to just doing the long chain by itself, which I couldn't do a month ago. But it just opens up the possibilities for more creative options when it comes to rhythm construction and beat stuff, which is really fun. The one I was working on yesterday, let's see if I can do it, would have been like a basic kick into like a TKK KPT. Let me see. It's kind of like a... Oh, and like an FT in between. So I'm going to try and break this down. And again, I don't have notation written out. I will do that at some point when you do like dedicated TKK lessons. This is really more of an example to show what I've been kind of practicing and how it's been giving me new things to sort of think about. But if we mix up like a kick into a rhythm chain, so let me see. That's a kind of complicated mix of... So kick, TKK, and then FTKK. Oh, FT, yeah, okay, 4. And then it repeats. The other one I talked about last week, in fact, I came up with it last week, was that drum and bass one. It was something like... So kick, TKK, TKTKK, and then repeat like a drum and bass pattern. I've been practicing that too, and it's been really helpful to kind of mix up my muscle memory. So that one would sound like at higher speed. And what I've been trying to do, which I did real quickly in that example, is work on doing a faster run of the TKK pattern. So instead of just it's almost like a 30-second note, like a 16 and a half or a 30-second note. And then that means it serves as a really fast filler sound, even faster than before. And that I'm not as good at yet, but I've been slowly learning, and it's been really fun just playing around at patterns. And as long as I'm not doing something that requires 100% mental concentration, then I can sit there and just, I was telling a coworker this the other day, I can be just sitting there typing away at work and just going... And just practicing the pattern over and over again, and it gets that muscle memory down. So we'll be talking about technicality more and more. I need to start updating my sound list of patterns, and then maybe we'll do a dedicated lesson, and then I can show you guys in notation all these things that I'm doing. I'll need to actually sit down and map them, because it won't mean as much to you guys if you can't read the sounds that I'm trying to do. This is really more just an overview and kind of a status update check, or status update, and sound check for the developing stuff that we've been working on stream. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about getting better with technicality. I'll keep you guys posted on new things I learn and come up with while I'm figuring it out, because it's not really a start and end state when it comes to this particular type of beatboxing skill. You can literally work on technicality forever and never be good enough at it. If you look at some of the stuff that the pros out there in the scene are doing with complex sound sets and patterns, the stuff they do is just light years beyond anything I'm currently learning, and it's pretty crazy. But it's a fun part of the craft that's neat for experimental purposes. All right. So let me change my status here. I think that'll do it for our intro and warm up. Let's go into BGM Brainstorming. Oh, also, I don't know if Edward, you're on Twitter. I'm not gonna assume you are, but I haven't seen you on there. So, just for general information purposes, I posted something yesterday on Twitter that's relevant to discussion we've been having up till now, and that's regarding the VTuber fan tag for the small community we have here. I kind of put off on figuring out what to use as a fan tag for a while, just because it didn't seem that important. But there'd been a lot of discussion back and forth about what to use for all of you guys that tune into the streams and hang out and interact. So I decided on a fan tag to use, and it was partly Wazzy's fault. But for now on going forward, the fan tag for our group's going to be Space Bees. One word. And I put that on my Twitter bio, and I had a post yesterday with a funny little graphic for the fan tag. But yeah, hashtag Space Bees for all of you guys. That's what we use going forward. And the reason why I credit Wazzy partly with that is because she made bees a running joke around here, which is fine by me. I think it's pretty funny. So yeah, that'll be the fan tag. The other stuff like the art tags and whatnot are on my Twitter as well. All right, so let's see. I mentioned at the start of the stream that I wanted to experiment with the one-shot function on the loop station, which is not something we've done a ton with. Just to recap, the one-shot is currently mapped to the bruh button on track 5. Bruh. And for the sake of experimenting today, I'm gonna delete that and give me an option to record something else. Edward says alien emoji and bee emoji. Yeah, there you go. That works. I don't know if there's an astronaut emoji. The graphic that I used for the Space Bees tag is like a side profile cartoon image of a bee with a space helmet. So yeah, that's fun. All right, let me turn off one shot and re-record, or give me the ability to re-record on this one. So I need to go let's see up here. Okay, one shot is off on track 5. So if I just hit the bruh button, bruh, it plays it, bruh, and it loops just like any other track. So I could turn it off, and now I can record anything I want on this particular track. And if I turn one shot on, it'll just become a loop, like a drum kit sample. And I was thinking about trying to work in some more bass type sounds, some more heavy sounds that we don't normally use in our BGM loops or haven't used up to this point. So I thought about the idea of doing a one-shot recording of my inwards sub bass, which I use every once in a while. I don't use it super often, but that's the low register version of the inward lip roll. So my sub bass sounds like and it's pretty punchy and hits pretty low. If you have a good sound system or headphones, and it should come in the low register pretty well. So I kind of want to record just a real quick one shot of the, and then try and work it into like a hip hop-ish type beat. So let me try and record it, and then we'll turn it into a one shot and see how it sounds. And I gotta gauge distance on this one too, so I might have to take more than one pass at the recording. But let's see. I get to come out cleanly. So let's see if we loop that. That's not bad. Now we turn one shot back on. And now we have it mapped to track 5, and it's on tap whenever we need it. So if I just hit the button. Oh, okay. It's a little loud. And I didn't realize, I guess I never tried it. You could turn reverse on for one shots as well. That's what it sounds like if we reverse the sub bass sample there. So I don't know if beatboxers really use the one shot this way, but if I wanted to do a regular beat and not have to worry about doing the sub bass myself, then I could do something like set up the beat and then just use it like a drum pad. So an example would be if I was doing a simple beat on the rhythm side and just doing like a, and basically I have the on tap wherever I need it. So I kind of want to tinker around with some ideas for beats and rhythms to combine with our inward sub bass and just see what we can do with it. Maybe it won't pan out to anything, but maybe we'll be able to find a good use for, okay, not hit by accident, for having that low hitting bass sound just whenever we need it. When I actually quote unquote perform the BGM track to record, it'll come down to me having pretty precise timing when it comes to using the sound, but that's fine. In fact, I could have combined that with the guitar to bass and have it be really, really powerful on there. But we can, let's see, I can actually see what that would sound like. Let's see, I'm going to put guitar to bass up at the track level. I can't tell if that's actually doing, it may only apply to the looping tracks, not the one shots. Maybe not. I guess if I want to have the additional effects or the boost, I'd have to turn it on when I record the sound. Well, that's good to know. All right, let's try and lay down a really simple rhythm and then start playing around with our one shot and see what kind of emerges for the track itself. I'm going to try and experiment with some longer bar rhythms, longer measure rather. One thing I usually do is I do a 1 or 2 measure repeat, and then that's what cycles through for beats, bass lines, and everything else. And that's pretty simple and kind of elementary when it comes to writing a lot of these. But I want to focus on trying to get some more advanced or complex things in these BGM tracks. So I think I'm going to do a multiple measure rhythm and then loop the whole thing, and then we'll work in a bass line and start playing around with our one shot and see. So if we think about kind of a more hip-hop-ish, kind of higher tempo than we did last time, I'm thinking kind of like a So we have a little bit of variation in the rhythm that repeats as several measures instead of just a one measure thing. So let's see if we can get it recorded and then start tinkering around with stuff. So let's see. I think that's looping pretty cleanly. Let me know if this playback is too loud for you guys. I have the fader up at about 75%. So now we have our beat, or our basic rhythm, and maybe we can layer some more stuff on top of that. We'll see. I'm not gonna just leave it the way it is, probably. But for the sake of experimentation, if we try and combine the rhythm with our new sub bass one shot, we can kind of see if there's anything that kind of jumps out at us as far as how the song structure should be set up. All right, Edward said sounds good. Okay, thank you. So let's see. Just messing around with different permutations of applying the sub bass with the underlying rhythm in the back. Okay, that's kind of an interesting change in sound, having the sub bass in there. Let me save this. I'm gonna layer in some more instruments on the basic beat. Hopefully I don't screw this up, so I just save my work here. I kind of want to add a psh, maybe a lighter psh with a reverb on it. Let's see. Oh, that's chorus. Let's see if we can get that to line up. Okay, it's pretty subtle. I'll turn reverb off. It's pretty subtle, but I want to layer in an outward K on top of that as well. So let me stop this. I'm going to have to save after every iteration just in case I screw up the timing and have to redo the loop. So we can do the same level of slight reverb, maybe a little lower. And then now let's do a... So let's see if we can get that on there. What that does, it gives the beat a little bit more of a full sound. It's gonna hit a little bit more. Turn off reverb. The snares are gonna hit a little bit more. What I could do is try and up the kick level, since the kick isn't super loud. And I could try and add something like a guitar to bass throat kick on top of that. Let me stop this here. So guitar to bass throat kick would sound like. It's subtle, but basically it gives a little bit more punch to the kicks. The kicks in the rhythm pattern, which I think is pretty good. Alright, now let's start thinking about a good bass line to combine with our rhythm, and something that's going to also kind of be a good pairing with our sub bass. We could do sustain notes and then just see if like a sustain few note bass line that changes, how that sounds when combined with the additional effect of having that punchy sub bass thrown in here or there. We've never done that before, so I have no idea what it's going to sound like. So I guess we can try and lay down a guitar to bass line, real simple one like we've done. Maybe have a couple progression notes, and then loop that, and then see what happens when we combine it with the sub bass, and then change things as necessary. Alright, I'm going to go back to guitar to bass, and there's going to be distortion on my voice. Thinking about just going up and down, a progression up and then down with the bass line. Keep it simple for this one, and then we'll just see how it sounds. Okay, I intentionally had the bass line cut off like for 1 or 2 measures before repeating, so that you have the empty sound with just the beat by itself. I did that on purpose there. Now what happens if we start to loop in our sub bass, and I have to figure out where I want to put it. mess around here. Another thing that could be an interesting way to switch up the track would be to not have the sub bass on like the main rhythms or main sections, but then we do a switch up section where the bass line drops out and it goes from this bass line with multiple notes to the sub bass, and then I have to do it manually. So let's see, let's stop everything and let's just start the tracks, and then I'll kind of explain what I'm trying to do here. Let's give it two repeats, or one repeat. One more. Drop the bass line out. So that could be a good option for kind of like a switch up section of the song where we flip around the whole low tones mechanics and we drop the bass line out, and then we bring in like a breakdown section essentially with the sub bass, because layering the sub bass on top of the bass line sounds kind of weird. I don't think it's the right pitch, and I think it competes with the bass line a little bit. But that could be something that we mess around with here. Now let's see, I kind of want to pair a synth, some sort of synth line with our rhythm and bass line. And we haven't messed around with synths a whole lot. So let's see what kind of options we have. I think the synth instrument's on track, or input effect A. So let's see if we can find it and then see what we can do with it. Alright, I found it. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Alright. Oh. Looks like okay, you guys can't hear me if I try and talk into it. So this is just a literal synth preset. I want to see how to get some sustained notes. So I'm gonna have to fiddle around with the knob here. So you guys probably won't be able to hear me if I try and talk. Let me see if I can figure it out here. Okay, the synth input or instrument is really interesting. I couldn't figure out any settings that just elongate the sound. It's very brief, and I don't know exactly what causes the interval. So like if I turn it on and try and talk, is it? I think it's by sound input. So every word in my sentence is hitting the mic and turning that into a synth sound, which is interesting. That's not how I would have expected that to work. So let me try and just do a synth melody And let's see if I can just get something rhythm-wise, note-wise. It's probably not gonna match up with what our bass line is doing. But I kind of want to just get something recorded and then play it back and see what it sounds like. Alright, got my dynamics back on. That's a kind of weird and unusual instrument to use. Just to get it to record that several notes that have kind of like a randomly dispersed there. I basically went meow 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 with my voice, and it applied that filter and kind of tweaked it a little bit. So I don't know if we're gonna keep that, but let's combine it with our bass line and see what it sounds like. Yeah, rhythm-wise, pitch-wise, it's not really that big of a deal, but rhythm-wise, it wouldn't fit in with the progression of the bass line. But it is interesting that's how that preset works. Might warrant some more research, because there's a lot of different settings you can tweak, but I couldn't figure out what was making it change the sound. Okay, let's see what other options we have to combine our simple rhythm and our bass line with some other sounds here. I wonder, what if we did a sharp snare sound combined with one of either like the flanger or the phaser sound effects? I wonder how much it would change the sound of the snare. Like, it would be a snare that's not in sync with the current percussion line. It would be kind of out of sync with it. So let's see. Alright, here's phaser. Just with a simple K snare. I can actually tell if it's doing anything. Non-vocalized sounds might not be affected by that at all. Filter. If I try and apply filter, in fact, I can't tell how that's actually altering my voice. Maybe you guys can hear it. Look at slow gear, which I don't think we use slow gear at all. Let's see what this one does. Test. Is that another filter? Yeah. I wonder if we could try and put a throat bass through this particular filter and see what it sounds like. It sounds like it's making it echo. So it's hard to tell. I don't know slow gear too well. Let's turn this off. It'll be easier for me to hear. If I turn it on, how does that change? I can sort of hear it. it sounds like there's kind of a duplication on my voice. Is that what it is? If I turn it down, it's a little bit less pronounced. Without that, yeah. It sounds like slow gear has the ability to kind of double input, but it doesn't do it consistently. That's kind of weird. Another instrument that we haven't really messed around with a lot, my voice is going to be a little softer because I have dynamics turned off on this track, is the robot voice.
If we turn on robot voice, this is what it sounds like at 100%. This is what it sounds like at 50%.
It's basically adding that kind of synthesized effect to your voice, like when a robot talks. I wonder what we can do to change the sound settings on this one. So I'm gonna just mess around with the settings and I'll just keep talking and we'll see what changes.
So the bass note for robot voices, the note C. We change it goes up. We can change it and go up. Can't go down. This is set F.
That setting is with the note F paired for the robot distortion filter that's being applied.
Gender. We go up. I guess it makes it more female sounding.
It looks like the main settings can change the kind of pitch that it's shifting everything, and then it the higher you go up in the quote unquote gender setting, and I guess it just makes it higher in range. I was hoping it'd go lower. Having like a lower growl distortion would be kind of interesting. But I wonder what would happen if we pair a throat bass with the robot voice. Let's see, I'll just turn it up to 100.
Alright, this is at 100. Let's see, throat bass.
That's what the robot voice sounds like, looped at 100% using a throat bass. You can't even tell that it's a throat bass. It's so heavily distorted, it just sounds like somebody talking. Interesting. I don't think that's going to be too functional for this. But good to know if we ever need to get that sort of artificial robot sounding voice on one of our tracks. Need to make sure my mic settings are good. All right, I think that'll do. All right, we need to figure out a good additional instrument track for our beat here. Let's see, I can see what's on our input B setting here. That's the one I have normally reserved for EQ. So if I turn that off, it's gonna kind of cut my mic's input levels a little bit. But let's see. Oh, that's right. There's lo-fi's on here. I wonder if I can combine lo-fi with like a throat bass. So let's see. This is with lo-fi on just my speaking voice. But if you were to combine it with like a low throat bass, what it would sound like. It was something like. Probably should have done that with the beat underneath it so I was timing it correctly, but we'll see if it gets close. It, like we did for some of the Halloween songs, adding the lo-fi filter over something like a regular bass gives it that kind of scratchy, gravelly sound, like a, again, lo-fi type noise. But doing it over a throat bass, which is already distorted, kind of makes it even more kind of crunchy. So let's see how close it lined up. Not at all. Alright, I'm going to try that again. And let me see if I can get it lined up a little bit better. Maybe I won't go for the same bass line notes. Maybe I'll just go for like a flat rhythm for the distortion. Let's see what it sounds like. We technically have lo-fi on A2, so I don't need to turn my EQ off for that. Yeah, I don't know if adding that lo-fi kind of distorted noise underneath really adds anything. If anything, it might sound better to apply it at the track level and you get the distortion a little more cleanly over everything. Let's try that. Try lo-fi at 50% and see what it does. I'm gonna turn it down to 25. And this is with lo-fi only filtering the bass line. It's not applying to the beat. I didn't realize we could double up on effects too, because certain input tracks have certain designated effects that are assigned, like A, B, or C, but some of them are on the same track. So if we did double lo-fi, I wonder what that would sound like. It just gets more muddy. Okay. Oh, that was synth. We apply synth, which we've never done on any of our tracks so far. Turn lo-fi off. That's interesting. It looks like it's... I think it's hitting the beginning of every measure, and it's applying that synth effect to like the first note of the measure. Or maybe not for that second half. What happens if we turn on the track input for the beat? Okay, it gets kind of confused because it's trying to apply it to the drums as well. Interesting. Alright, I'm gonna mess around with the beat shifting and kind of actual rhythm affecting sounds in the input or track effects here. So we can come up with. Alright, this is scatter. We did something similar to this on the track we were working on last week. If we wanted to take the kind of simple hip-hop-ish type feel of the track we've done so far and make it into like a kind of dance song, like we did like a dance breakdown, which we've never done, I don't think, on any of these BGM tracks. That could be kind of an interesting idea. So let's see. So if we assume that the regular hip hop beat's going for a bit, and then we do like a real dramatic switch up, it would sound like. That's interesting. We could bank this as a potential idea for a switch up maybe halfway through the song. It would be very unusual and kind of unique since we haven't really done that yet. Let's look at the other beat adjusters here. This is beat shift. That one doesn't really do a whole lot. If you wanted to do a drop, then we just do a straight up beat repeat. This is beat repeat at 25%, repeating just like the first section of both the rhythm and the bass line. Think of the potential switches up to the beat. I think I like the scatter that turns it into like a club jam. I think that idea is interesting. Oh, interesting. The scatter also applies to the one shot, unless I turn it off. Unless I turn off track effects. Here's why. Let's try this. Drop the input a little bit. If we wanted to do like a heavy, like a club breakdown or drop, we technically could do that. I have to do it manually, which is kind of difficult. It would be easier to just turn the one shot into a loop and then have it apply to the scatter. In fact, let me see if I can do that. If we were gonna do something like that, now it loops in time with everything else because it's just doing it automatically. That's interesting. So let's see. Let's kind of map out just a basic flow for the song. Okay, start from the beginning. Let's say we go bass line first. I don't know what I prefer for this one right now. Let's go bass line first, then rhythm, repeat it a couple times, and then go into the quote-unquote club breakdown, and then we'll add in the punch, and we'll see what happens. I think this will be kind of an interesting experiment. So let's go. Okay, got the beat in there. Let it repeat. Now we'll go one more repeat. Now we go full club mode. I don't know if this sounds heavy on headphones, but just on the playback, there's quite a bit of punch from the sub bass that's looping now. Switch it back. And the neat thing about the way the toggles work on the tracks themselves and the loops, it takes a couple button settings to tab over and basically navigate to where the one shot is, but I can just turn it back on and it's a one shot again. Huh. It does sound different though. I wonder why. Oh, I'll bet it's looping. It's looping that way because now there's a different track BPM versus when we recorded it initially. That's probably why. When we did that one first, that's why. Let me see if I can re-record that. I'll re-record it with the rhythm and the bass line under this BPM, and then I'll reset it as a one shot. That should fix it. I'll try and match the pitch here. Yeah, that should be good. Oh, I should... Let's try and combine that with guitar to bass and see if it punches it even lower. That may actually be too much low end. Let's see if I can turn the guitar to bass down a little bit. I don't need to have the beat on. A little bit easier for me to hear. That might be a little better. Nah. Okay, I think that works. It's definitely got more of a resonance. Okay, we have it on one shot. This is on loop. So if we turn on our scatter, okay. Now I think it'll sync up and we can use it on one shot or on loop. Stop this. Save our work. We could try adding a hi-hat run. I've got 2 unused tracks here so far. What if we added a hi-hat run? I wonder what that would do once the beat gets remixed in the club version. So we can find out. Going to chorus instead of reverb. Penguin's here. Penguin says, "Hi Raku, I'm at work and came to say hi. I know, very original of me to say. Welcome to the stream. Hope your work day is going well and Karen free." What if we did a TK instead of just regular hats, since we always do regular hats? I'll do double time on that. Penguin says, "It's alright. Busy, but not really busy, surprisingly." Oh, that's good. I'm going to redo the TKK run. You can hear me grunting on it, which is kind of annoying. Get to loop cleanly. Still off time. We'll try it again. Yeah, that works. I'm trying to get to loop cleanly here. Okay, that's better. Alright, now let's try and switch up to club mode and see how it changes with the hat runs that I added there. think that's functional. I do like the abrupt tonal shift of going from kind of a more smooth hip hop beat to the very aggressive doof 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 sound of the club version. Also see if we were to plot out like a rough draft of how the track would be recorded, dropping the main beat out. Bring it back. Switch up. Back to normal. Try something. First, I'm gonna save this. I don't want to lose what we're doing. I'm gonna up the BPM on this one. I'm just gonna go really fast so that the initial hip hop beat is gonna be a lot quicker. But I'm kind of curious to see how nuts it gets when we switch it up to club mode when it's starting at a higher bass BPM. Because this one's already starting at 142. So let's put up to 200. And then start the hip hop rhythm. Okay, that might be a little too fast. This is at 180. Now if we were to switch it up, what's it sound like? So what we've done here is inadvertently create a happy hardcore song. It's missing like a high-end melody to kind of go with it. But at that speed, when it switches up, it sounds like it should be a DDR track, which is kind of funny. This is with lo-fi on the whole set of tracks. Granular delay, which that sounds terrible. All right, that's starting to give me a headache. It is interesting that when you adjust the overall track BPM, depending on what you've recorded, sometimes it comes out kind of clean and it sort of translates well to a higher speed, and other times it just muddies up. For this one, if we were to try and do that, I don't think it comes out that cleanly. But I think that's pretty functional for this one. I do like the idea of an abrupt tonal shift in the middle, going from the hip-hop to the electronic version. The real question would be what we're going to call this one. I do like the idea of kind of hitting on the really stark contrast in tones between the first part of the song and the second part. Let me see. I'm gonna run through the rough draft layout again, and then we'll see what kind of potential track titles come to mind for this one. So let's see. We did bass line first. We bring in the hats. Regular percussion. We loop it one more time. Now we switch it up. Go to the club. Thinking one repeat and then another. Turn it off. And then maybe they have that be the outro. Start on the bass line, finish on the bass line, and then have the hi-hat run sort of take us out, and then everything cuts off on the track. Now, as far as what we're going to call this one, I kind of like the idea of an unexpected, since the tonal shift is unexpected. Maybe we can call it like Surprise Club, since there's no real indication that there's going to be that abrupt tonal shift when you're starting off with the hip-hop rhythm and bass line, and then all of a sudden it switches dramatically. So I'm going to tentatively title this one as Surprise Club. Penguin says, I like the name Surprise Club. Yeah, it can be kind of read a couple different ways. It could be Surprise Club, like being surprised you're in the club, or someone's coming up behind you and is going to club you by surprise. Okay, let's go ahead and do one last save. Okay, track 59. Let's see, what do we want to do with the rest of our time? We've got a little bit more time before I'm going to wrap up for today's jam stream. I don't think I have enough time to do a full song. Let's try. All right, I'm going to record all this onto a new one. Let's just get started and see what we can come up with real quickly. I kind of want to do a drum and bass track. So let's see, we will clear all of our initial ones off. Could add the bra button back for now. Bruh. Penguin says, had fun watching, gonna get back to work. All right, man. Thanks for tuning in. Hope your rest of your work day goes well, and I will catch you on the next one. Okay, bruh button's back on one shot. So for a drum and bass track, I can't remember how many, if any, we've done as part of our BGM. I'd have to go back and look since we've been working on a lot of these. But what if we did a real simple like 1-2 drum and bass line, something like a like that, and then maybe fill out the rest of the beat. And I got some ideas for things I want to sort of pair, kind of in line with what we were talking about earlier for sound practice. So let's see. I think the second half of the beat is off. Like the first half is fine, but I think the second half actually is hitting off beat. That's weird. I don't normally have that problem. Let's see. Maybe I'll do one repeat. That might make it easier. Okay, now it's at hats. I'm just listening to this on loop just to make sure I'm happy with the way it's laid out before I re-record it. Okay, I'm gonna layer on another snare. Let's see. Do we want a K snare or do we want like a psh? Let's go psh. Okay, I think that'll be functional for now. What I was thinking about experimenting with, and we'll see if it works, since I've never done it before on one of these. I want to add a TKK run and have it on loop underneath the main rhythm. The real question is, can I do it at a consistent time and then have it loop so that it sounds good? So let me try and think of how I would do it if I was just doing it on the fly. The question is, do I want to have it be in between or do like a constant run? That might be too slow. Let's work on getting a bass line down. Then I'm going to come back to that idea later. What if we did guitar to bass and try to do like a more distorted low throat bass in addition to guitar to bass? guitar to bass on, kind of like a. We might not actually need guitar to bass on that. I might be able to do it with just a regular vocalized chest. Instead of having that low end kind of competing, might be able to just go mo 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 mo. Wonder. Mo 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 mo. Bruh. We could try and combine a guitar to bass line separate from the actual vocalized chest bass. Like maybe make it like a more rapid bass line instead of a 2-note like this one. Let's see what it sounds like. It might sound weird. Okay, maybe if I can get that on time, it might sound better. So what I've done is I've added a 1-note, just underlying bass chord all the way underneath the beat. I just wanted to see what it'd sound like. It's not bad. I think it, because of the way it cuts off, there's a slight break in the bass line. I kind of wanted it to be constant, but I feel like we could also make it rapid, and that might give it more kind of bounce to the overall rhythm. So I'm gonna try and do that. Okay, that was a little bit more what I was thinking as far as supplementing the beat with something a little bit more bouncy. Still want to see if I can get a technicality run on here somewhere, but I'm trying to figure out the rhythm for a triplet. That might work. 1, 1, 2. We can add it and see what happens. Of course, if I do it really messy, then it's not going to sound good. That's a little bit closer. That might actually be functional. This song might be good to incorporate a drop. Bruh. Okay, let me save this. I didn't think that technicality incorporation would work out as well as it did, but I think it's fine. Yeah. It's not perfect, but I think blended in with the song, it actually pairs decently. So how would we start this one if we're thinking about a rough draft? We'll sort of get this in place, and then we'll wrap up for today. So let's see. We can go. Drop. Drop the beat out. I think that's actually an interesting breakdown to have the vocalized chest bass line paired with just the technicality. Bruh. And then bring everything back in. This is a slicer. Edward says, the old bruh drop, nice. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to put that in the final version of the song, but it does work as a pretty good setup for like a big change, like a drop. Okay, I got an idea. Let's do this. Stop. Exit, save. Let me run through the rough draft again. I kind of like the idea of including the slicer pattern too, which we've never used before. So let's run through it again, and I want to have the slicer, the sliced beat be what comes out of the drop, so that we have a switch up again. So let's take it from the top. Bruh. Alright, go for the drop. Went rapid there. coming out of the drop. Now we have a slightly chopped, remixed version of the original rhythm. Cut everything out. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. I accidentally cleared off my first track. Well. That's okay. The only thing I changed between the versions was the track effects. So that's interesting. If we take our beat, get this is heading towards the outro. And then maybe we have the technicality breakdown be like the last thing. Or maybe we'll just go for the actual bass to take us out, since the last one had the hats finishing off the song on the outro. We go. And then that's it. Huh. That one came together much faster than the last one. I guess the only question left before we wrap up would be, what are we going to call this one? Last one was Surprise Club. This one is, again, a more drum and bass feel. And it incorporates our first ever technicality rhythm accompaniment, which is kind of fun. We already have one BGM track. It's called Run and Bass, so I kind of want to avoid using a name that sounds like drum and bass, so we don't have a bunch of similar sounding songs. Let's see, we could call it Drum Tech, since we're using drum and bass style with the first ever incorporation of a technicality pattern. No, it's interesting. The technicality just drops out completely when you go for beat repeat up to max. Probably because it's too fast. Yeah, how do we feel about using the name Drum Tech? I think that's simple yet appropriate for this one. Bruh. Let's see that. Resave. Well, I guess I'll need to save. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Drum Tech for now. Edward approves. Okay, that's good enough for me. Bruh. So we got through 2 BGM tracks. The first one, I think, was a little bit more complicated than the second one, even though the second one has 4 tracks. The first one has 5. It might be the first one we've done that's got 5 total instrument tracks. But I do like the idea of incorporating technicality as kind of like a rhythm supplement. So that's a first for this one. We'll need to continue to work on that. But I think that will do it for today's jam stream. I will be doing another one of these, maybe not next week because I want to rotate some other content in. We are due for another chill stream where I rank things on tier lists and get yelled at for my bad opinions. So we may come back in 2 weeks, and that'll give me some time to go in and record some of these recent tracks that we've done. There should be 3, if I remember correctly. There should be 3 new BGM tracks between last week and this week. We had Switch Hop, Surprise Club, Drum Tech. Those are the 3 most recent, I believe. And there may be 1 or 2 stream sounds that I need to record as well. So I'll get that done and start putting stuff into the collections. The second BGM collection is a ways off, I think. That one's maybe has 6 after we do these latest ones. Stream sounds is getting close to 10. I get the feeling we'll probably be able to put together enough stuff to release the stream sounds collection by the end of the year. We'll see. I need to sit down and plan out what content I'm doing next week. Maybe able to fit in some more streams. Maybe we'll do another 4-stream week. I'll have to look at my schedule and see. But next week we'll definitely be focusing on Uranium. Maybe we'll pick up on our character drawing project we started a couple weeks ago. And then a chill stream. I would like to do another media share, but I haven't put together the stuff for it yet, so that'll probably be later. But we'll see. Once I figure it out, like usual, the stream schedule for the following week will be posted on Twitter some point tomorrow for the end of the day. But I think that'll do it. Once again, thanks to all the folks that stopped by and hung out. I think today's jam stream was pretty productive, actually. I had fun messing around with a lot of these different commands and just experimenting with sound types. I want to do a jazz song next. I gotta start thinking about some good ideas to put together for like a jazz track. We haven't really done one of those yet, so that'll be something coming up. But until then, once again, thanks for hanging out, and I will catch you guys in the next stream. Have a good afternoon /evening /morning, and I'll catch you later.